Welcome back to Civil Defiance. I'm your host, Otto Bismarck. Tonight, we're peeling back the most ancient, most comforting, and most insidious deception ever crafted. Look around the globe, from the stained glass cathedrals of Rome to the sun-baked temples of the Ganges, from the strict laws of the desert prophets to the intricate mythologies of ancient empires. It's all there. Different costumes, different names, but the same script. We are told these are diverse paths to a singular, benevolent truth. I say, bullshit. I say these striking, undeniable similarities across all faiths are not evidence of a shared divine truth, but evidence of a singular, shared human agenda. An agenda that predates nations, governments, and even written history. The goal? Control. Absolute, generational, mind-numbing control of the masses. Tonight we ask, if every religion looks like a slight variation of the other, are they all, in the most dangerous sense, the same thing? And if so, what is the ultimate act of civil defiance against it? Let's get past the superficial differences, the beards, the robes, the dietary restrictions. Let's look at the core architectural blueprint that every successful mass religion uses. I call this the control template. Rule number one, the external authority. Every faith insists that the ultimate authority, moral, judicial, and spiritual, resides outside of you. You are not sovereign. You are a supplicant. Whether it's the commandments carved in stone, the sacred texts delivered by a prophet, or the dictates of a centralized ecclesiastical body, the message is uniform. Listen to us. Obey us. Your conscience is secondary to the doctrine. Rule number two, the cosmic debt and redemption cycle. This is the genius of the template. It first instills a profound sense of sin, shame, or spiritual inadequacy. You are born broken. You owe a debt to a deity. You are fundamentally unworthy. Then the religion sells you the cure, a specific, arduous, and ritualistic path to redemption. Prayer, tithing, confession, specific good deeds. It keeps the follower in a perpetual state of striving and dependency. You never truly arrive. You just keep paying the spiritual dues. Rule number 3, the eternal reward and punishment, the ultimate carrot and stick. Paradise, Valhalla, Nirvana, the promise of reincarnation into a higher form. And the terrifying counterweight, hell, eternal damnation, endless purgatory, or rebirth into suffering. This isn't spiritual encouragement. This is an authoritarian threat. It ensures compliance not for the love of virtue, but for the stark primal fear of consequence. You don't steal because it harms your neighbor. You don't steal because an invisible warden will burn you for eternity. This system sacrifices morality for obedience. Rule number 4, the priesthood/clergy as the gatekeepers. Every one of these systems requires an intermediary, a select few who claim to possess the unique access, the secret knowledge, the correct interpretation. They are the toll takers. They translate the authority and administer the debt. They manage the flock. Without them, the entire edifice of control collapses. The average person is deliberately cut off from direct access to truth or God. You need us to be saved. When you lay the scriptures of the world side by side, the creation myths, the flood narratives, the virgin births, the sacrificing of the only begotten Son, the moral codes, they are not just similar, they are plagiarized. They are variations on a single masterful framework designed to herd the human spirit. Let's move to the practical application. If all religions are simply variations of the same control template, what is the purpose? The answer is brutally simple and profoundly political. Religions are the original and still the most effective form of social engineering. Think about it. A king, a warlord, an emperor, they can control your body with soldiers and law. But the second their back is turned, your mind is free. They cannot control your will. Religion solved this problem. It gave the state or the power structure that controls the state a way to reach directly into the mind of the citizen, the peasant, the soldier, and make them govern themselves. If you can convince a population that their suffering in this life is a divine test, a virtue, and that a reward awaits them in the next life, you have immunized them against revolt. You have made them compliant, patient, and grateful for crumbs. Marx called it the opium of the people, and he wasn't wrong. It anesthetizes the pain of injustice and inequality. The greatest trick every ruling class has ever pulled is to merge the power of the throne with the power of the altar, the divine right of kings, God given destiny, the sacred mandate. When you challenge the ruler, you are not just committing treason, you are committing blasphemy. And this control isn't just historical. Look at the modern world. Why are deeply religious nations often the most resistant to social change, scientific inquiry, and individual liberty? Because the control template is functioning perfectly. It creates a closed loop of thought. It dictates that all important questions have already been answered, and the only path is acceptance and faith, not inquiry and defiance. If the goal was truly spiritual enlightenment, why the rigid hierarchies? Why the endless wars of interpretation? Why the profound wealth accumulated by the churches while the believers struggle? Because the goal is not enlightenment. The goal is organization. The goal is centralization. The goal is control. One God, perhaps, but more accurately, one master plan. So, what happens when you see the blueprint? When you recognize the universal control template across all the major faiths? You realize that following any of them, be it Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or even the dogmatic fringes of New Age spirituality, is still subscribing to the same fundamental structure of external authority and self denial. You're just picking a different jail cell. The act of civil defiance here is not to replace one doctrine with another. It's to reject the entire premise of external spiritual authority. It is to declare, I am the sovereign of my own spirit. This brings us to the most feared, the most maligned, and I would argue, the most profoundly spiritual position a free thinker can take: atheism. Atheism is not simply the absence of belief in a God. That's a weak definition. True atheism is the ultimate act of intellectual and moral self ownership. When you reject the divine authority, you simultaneously dismantle the entire control template. You become the authority. Morality is no longer dictated by ancient texts. It is forged through reason, empathy, and your social contract with your fellow humans. You abolish the cosmic debt. You are not born a sinner or broken. You are born a conscious, autonomous being with zero debt to a cosmic accountant. You extinguish the eternal threat. The threat of hell loses its power. You are forced to confront the true meaning of your life right now on this earth because there is no celestial bailout or punitive afterlife. This is the defiant power of atheism. It doesn't offer comfort, it demands courage. It doesn't offer certainty, it demands inquiry. It doesn't offer a shepherd, it offers freedom. and this is why it is consistently painted as evil, dangerous, or empty. The control structure cannot tolerate a populace that recognizes their own inherent worth and authority. A truly defiant thinker, an atheist, is a person who looks at the control template and says, the only true authority over my mind is my own reason. In a world where all the great religions look suspiciously like different branches of the same corporate tree, the universal church of obedience, atheism emerges as the only path that is truly, definitionally, and uncompromisingly different. It is the absolute NO to the system. If religion is the control, then the refusal to be controlled is, in itself, a definitive and necessary religion of defiance, the religion of the free mind. The terrifying beauty of civil defiance is that it comes with immense responsibility. When you step out of the sheep pen, when you reject the universal control, you are suddenly responsible for everything. You cannot blame the devil for your flaws. You cannot credit God for your successes. You cannot rely on a thousand-year-old book to solve a modern ethical dilemma. You are forced to be your own priest, your own prophet, and your own judge. This is the test, the true test of the free mind. We must recognize the shared history. We must understand that religious texts are magnificent, terrifying cultural artifacts. They are human attempts to define meaning, but they have been co opted and weaponized for control. We don't burn them. We study them as evidence of the control template at work. We learn the enemy's strategy. The work of a civil defiant thinker is to dismantle the inherited fear, to build an ethical life not based on reward or punishment, but based on the simple, brutal truth that we only have each other. When you harm your neighbor, you are not offending a distant God. You are damaging the only thing that truly matters, the shared brief and precious reality we occupy. Empathy replaces commandment. Reason replaces revelation. Autonomy replaces obedience. This is the new defiant creed. This is what truly separates the free mind from the comfortable, controlled mind. If you recognize the shared blueprint, you must abandon the building. You must step outside and build your own cathedral, a cathedral made of reason, curiosity, and absolute self sovereignty. This is not a call to intolerance, it is a call to clarity, to see the invisible chains that bind the consciousness of billions. To recognize that when all the world's faiths look the same at their core, it's not a coincidence, it's a mechanism. And the only path out of the mechanism is the profound, defiant courage to say, I do not believe, therefore I am free. I am Otto Bismarck. You have been listening to Civil Defiance. Stay vigilant, stay skeptical, and above all else, stay defiant.